So my name is Jill. I'm from the Connecticut Audubon Society. I've been an employee at the Audubon Society for almost 9 years. I got my bachelor's degree from University of Delaware in wildlife conservation. I've loved birds my whole entire life. I currently am a high school biology teacher at Ludlow in Fairfield, and I have a master's in teaching from Sacred Heart. But this is where the real fun stuff is. Any questions for me before we get started? No? Okay. So today we're going to talk about birds and why they migrate. So let's go through here. First things foremost, you need some type of way to identify all the birds you see every single day in your backyard or when you're traveling or at the beach. So I have a couple suggestions. This book on the left is really common. Does anybody have this book? Yeah, so a few. It's organized by color, so it's easier for beginner birders because you could look at the bird that you're looking at outside and say, oh, it's mostly blue. I'll go to the mostly blue section. It's not organized by like taxonomic group. And then if you just want something for your backyard, it's always nice to have just a little poster of common birds in your backyard so you don't have to flip through the pages. So those are my two suggestions for if you're just starting out. If you're not just starting out and you have an idea of what a finch looks like compared to a hawk, which I'm assuming most of you do, these are great, great, great books. If you want to keep it somewhat small and just in the eastern range, I suggest the Birds of Eastern North America. It's National Geographic. The good thing about these is they're drawings of the birds instead of the previous one, which is photos of the birds. And it doesn't sound like it'll be that tricky, but no matter how the bird's positioned, it could look different in one picture versus in your yard. So it's easier to ID them, I think, with the drawings. So this one's good for just Eastern if you want to be really ambitious. The new Sibley came out about a year ago, second edition, and I suggest getting that one. They're grouped by taxonomic group. So ducks and geese are in the front, and then blackbirds are in the back. But once you start like flipping through the pages and getting to know all the pages, it's easy to just go to what page you need. Any questions about a guide? No? Quiet group today. I'm used to my 9th graders. So when you're looking at a bird outside, especially during migration, it could be extra tricky because their coloration is sometimes different for the fall, because they don't need to worry about impressing a lady. They need to worry about being strong enough to fly south. So these are a couple key parts of the bird you should know. The crown is on top of their head. Eye ring's a good thing to look out for. Throat is important. The rump is back here, like the bird's butt. That you're going to need to know later for a bird ID. Good? So, because we are here on the eastern shore of the United States, we are very, very lucky. We are located right on one of migration's flyways. We are on the Atlantic Flyway because we're along the Atlantic Ocean. And peak migration time is now. So it started early September, late August, and will go for the next couple weeks. But by mid-October, late October, it's starting to fizzle down. So if you want to go bird watching for the good warblers, some shorebirds, all that type of stuff, I suggest you leave here at 2 and head outside. So here's a diagram of all the flyways that are really popular, that most birds go based on the different jet streams. So as you can see, we're right in the heart of all those on the Atlantic coming down straight. Pretty much stop here. They stop in Delaware a lot. So we're very lucky. Some of those states down south are not so lucky. Don't have a lot of birds coming through. So why do birds migrate? I put a hint up there. Food, 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 food. A lot of times, people think that birds fly south for the winter because it's too cold up here. We have birds here all year round, correct? So it's mostly because of the food. A lot of our songbirds that we like seeing eat insects. Almost 90% of songbirds' diets is insects, and the great thing about winter is we don't get as many mosquito bites, but because of that, there's not a lot of insects around in the winter time. They go dormant for the winter, or the eggs are laid and the adults die in the winter time. So food is the key driving factor for why birds need to migrate south. Then you think, well, why don't they just stay south all the time, and we would have no birds up here, but it's a lot more crowded down there then. So it's almost like they go down there to get their food for the winter time up here, but then once it hits spring, they know there's going to be tons of food up here that not a lot of birds are going to be near compared to down south, so that is why they migrate back and forth. We do have our seed eaters and our berry eaters that stay around. So now we're going to name some of them. Some of these will stick around. What's this? This is an American robin. So we know that from the grayish-bluish back and red breast and white eye-ring. These guys, for the most part, stay around here depending on if there's a lot of berries. So if you have a lot of berries in your yard, you might see robins throughout the whole winter versus if you don't have a lot of berries in your yard. Viburnums are good to plant if you want to see a lot of different fruit eaters. And like cedar waxwings, has anyone seen a cedar waxwing? It's another type of bird that is mostly a fruit eater. So, what about this guy? Cardinal, good. They're seed eaters. You can tell by their ferocious looking bill. These are the worst biters. They hurt the most. So they're seed eaters. They're going to stay around for the winter time, especially if you fill your bird feeders, which you should. This one's a little tricky. So what's on top of his head? What color? White. And what part of its body is it? Do you remember? A crown. So this is a white-crowned sparrow. They're not as common here, but sometimes you might see them in the wintertime. These guys, when you see them, you have to think, whoa, migration's almost over because this is their south. So they'll come a little bit more southern than this, but they're from way, way up north. When they migrate, they're here to stay for the winter. So these guys eat seeds. You might see them at your feeder. Pretty cute, I think. So they're here for migration, and they'll probably stay for the rest of the winter. Here's another one. What's this guy? Another type of sparrow. Close. It's white-throated. So this is a white-throated sparrow. These guys are here all winter too, and they're starting to come down now because this is their south, quote unquote. They have a beautiful song. I could try and see if I could find it on my... This is like the prettiest song of all winter, I think. Going on Cornell, all about birds. It's not working. Let's try video. Oh, no, 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 no. Ugh, so frustrating. Okay. See if this works. Can you hear this? It's not really that loud. Pretty, right? Bella's probably in there like, what are you playing? And then this one, I call them tiny flying penguins. That is not what they are. Does anybody know what this is? It's a junco. Good. This is a dark-eyed junco. They're here in the wintertime. They're passing through for migration. At the Audubon in Fairfield, they do banding regularly during migration, and they just last week got their first of the season junco, like caught in the net. So they're here. They're very cute, and they're here for the rest of the winter, and then they go back up north. This, I'm trying to trick you. Not a song sparrow. This is an American goldfinch. So, this is another bird that will stick around, and some will migrate. But I put this picture up here because a lot of times, even in the shop at Audubon, people come in and say that all their goldfinch are gone, but I have to remind them that their plumage changed. They don't have to be as beautiful to impress a lady in the wintertime, so they look like this instead. So they probably are still there. You just don't notice them as much. So that's my tricky bird ID.
They love echinacea seeds, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes, they will come right to the head.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. We had them on BlackEyed Susans. So now we're going to talk about perching birds that you will probably see during migration time. Perching birds are all birds that like to perch in trees. They usually eat insects. They're the songbirds. Woodpeckers are also considered perching birds, I think. Just the birds that you normally think of when you think of backyard birding. So, in warblers. Warblers in the fall are very difficult to ID. This is a picture of all the eastern warblers in their fall coloration, all different species, and they all look the same. There's a new book that came out that's just on warblers. It has this plate in it. It has a bunch of other drawings and photographs of like the birds at different angles. So like if it was up in the tree, like just the tail photo or just the head photo. I suggest you get it if you want to get into warbler birding. You might get something called warbler neck, which is when your neck's a little sore from staring like this all day. They tend to be high in the trees. They're around now. Going through all of these would be painful, so I'm just going to go through a couple that are more common that you most likely see. Any questions about the warblers?
So they're just passing through?
They're just passing through. It kind of stinks because they're the cutest, like most beautiful birds, I think, and they just pass through in the spring and in the fall. A few of them stick around, which we'll talk about, but they breed up in the forests in Canada, and then they go to South America for fall time, or for winter.
What do they like to eat?
They eat insects. So they're not going to come to a feeder, but I suggest you get like some sort of water feature because all birds are attracted to like the sound of water. So if you have like a fountain or some type of bird bath in your yard, you're probably more likely going to get them in your yard because they need to drink water. They don't eat the feed as much, but you could put mealworms in. I'm not sure if they would come to them. I know bluebirds like mealworms. You could try it and then let me know.
Are these always pictures of males?
No, they're pictures of males and females, I think. Let me see. So like this, the Prothonotary Warbler, or Prothonotary, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. That is a male and a female, for the most part, look like that. This was seen it was like the one time Fairfield Audubon was famous in the spring because there was one that was hanging out there. And we had like 20 bird watchers a day come through to find this warbler and photograph it, but it was a mistake. He like migrated too far north by accident or something. So hopefully he went back down south to find somebody. Any other questions? Yeah? The eye circles? I think it just depends on each of them. Most of them are just the yellowish color. Good question.
So when they come to a feeder one year, you expect them the next?
Not necessarily, no.
Because you said the warbler that was there migrated too far north and didn't come back.
No, so I'm assuming he came this past spring. I'm assuming he'll never come back up here again. He either didn't make it or he went back down south where they breed in like Delaware, Maryland area and just was like, whoops, didn't want to come up here. 2 years ago, this time of year, there was a type of bird called fork-tailed flycatcher, which they are in like Central America, and then they migrate to like South America. And there was one seen in Old Lyme or Old Saybrook. Did anyone go see it? No? I made my mom drive me to go see it. And we saw it, but it was because we knew it was going to be there. It was there for a couple days. They think maybe something in its brain, like the magnets or something for migrating, got messed up. So instead of migrating like that many miles south, they migrated like that many miles north by accident, and it was here for the winter time. And they're insect eaters, so I'm not sure what ended up happening to that bird either, but fork-tailed flycatcher. You should look it up. They have like a long tail like this long, and their body's like this big. So this is a common warbler that you might see. Does anybody know what it is? A black and white warbler. Good. Oh, it is? Oh. Can't even read that down there. So this is a black and white warbler. The males look, this is most likely a male. The females are a little bit duller, but the same pattern. We ban these a lot in Fairfield. They come through this time of year, so look out for these guys. Don't get them confused with nuthatches. Has anyone seen a nuthatch before? They're like almost woodpecker-like, and they crawl up and down the trunks of the trees. Black and white warblers do the same thing. So they have the same like feeding patterns as a nuthatch would. So you'll see them crawling up and down the tree branches and tree trunks looking for little bugs. But they're more stripy looking, and a nuthatch is just two solid colors. Also black and white, so it's kind of tricky. Especially when they're flying around and not perfectly still in a photo. This is another common warbler you might see. What is it? It is a common yellowthroat. So this is a male, but in fall, coloring. So in the spring, he'll have a big black mask here. His throat might be a little brighter for breeding season. But this is what they look like now. These warblers are the only ones that you won't really get warbler neck from because they are more towards the ground. They like staying in like lower shrubs and looking around there, kind of near streams. I've seen them a lot. So you can look around that type of habitat for them. Any questions? Am I talking too fast? Okay. Okay. Here's the bird I was talking about in the beginning. This is another type of warbler. My personal favorite. Does anyone have a guess on its name? Yellowrumped Warbler. Also called butterbutts. I love the name. So this is a yellow-rumped warbler in the fall. You can look out for them. This is a female probably because she's a little bit duller than the males, which would be more black and white also in the coloring. And they're really widespread. There's different variations of them all over the U.S., so it's not only specific towards here. These guys may stick around for later in the winter, and they have a later migration than other warbler species. So you're more likely going to see them now and later. Any questions about them? No?
Just generally, taxonomy of birds and warblers, that was designated based on various body size characteristics, right? That's what we were looking at before, the differentiating factors. Are they doing DNA work with respect to determining whether there is sequence evidence that these all fall within the same subfamily?
Yeah, so they do. This is what I tell my students at school. When they first did all the classification, they just based it on visual characteristics. Now they're going back and doing more DNA testing and looking at all the genes and doing all the taxonomic classifications based on that. So these are more DNA-based classifications. There's some species of birds that were previously in warblers that I do not think are considered warblers anymore, like yellow-breasted chat and kinglets, I think, were once considered in warbler groups, but things change all the time. Birds, I don't know what the bird people, they're extra smart or something. They decided to not only have universal species, like Latin names, but they also are starting to do universal common names as well. So it's a lot easier to find different names, and it's not going to be mixed up if you go like on vacation somewhere else. Like common names are also universal for birds for the most part too, which is good. So you don't have to memorize all the scientific names. Okay, so yes?
When you talk about that they're here now, or they're sticking around for a while, how long does a bird stay here with the flock passing through, the species passing through? The same bird might not be there day after day.
True. So like the species will pass through now. It might not, the same flock might be here for a couple days, but for the most part, it's just even if you look at this type of warbler book or any bird book, it has like ranges of when the species passes through. So if you see a yellow-rumped warbler, he might hang out in your yard for a little bit, and then if you see another one like a week later, it could be him, it could be a different one. It's a little tricky. No one's put little GPS transmitters on warblers yet. Only a matter of time. They're doing ducks now, I think, so, and snowy owls. So I have this map up here to remind me, to tell you where you can find warblers or where you should look for warblers this time of year. I suggest if you have water features in your yard, just hang out in your yard. Perching birds pretty much will go anywhere. It's not like they need a large body of water. So you could do yard bird watching for them. You can do more hikes around You can come to the Fairfield Audubon Society and look around there. Along the shore, if you go to different like wooded areas, you'll probably find warblers there. Yes?
How long does it take them to go to the final destination?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would assume, don't hold me to it, but I would assume like maybe a couple weeks. It depends on the species too, because some birds fly directly from like X to Z, like without stopping. So that will take them obviously shorter than a bird that stops a lot along the way. Like monarch butterflies fly across the whole Gulf of Mexico without stopping. I just Googled map with a question mark. Really? Wow, that's cool. I've never been to Hungary.
I'm reading what it says on
Oh, really? That's so cool. I guess. That's really cool. So my favorite bird watching now, this time of year starts and goes all through winter, is waterfowl. For the most part, for ducks and geese, this is the start of their south. So we're very, very lucky that we can see them here in the winter time. My personal favorite duck is a canvasback. Has anyone seen a canvasback? I think I have a picture of them later. So this is an example of their range. So the blue is their winter time and the yellow is their migration. So we're very lucky that we have them here. We'll see them and then they'll stay. Obviously, you can't look in your backyard for canvasbacks unless you live on the coast. Yes?
I've seen some waterfowl from the south up here, which surprised me. The great white heron.
Oh, great blue herons are here. Great egrets, yep. They're here now. They stick around for a while. Snowy egrets and great egrets might go south now. So this is a canvasback. Oh, so pretty. Not when you think of ducks and geese. You don't think of this ever. Or I never did. So definitely keep an eye out if you like shorebird watching. Dress warm, especially in January, because it's very cold to stand out there. Anyone know what this is? Not a bufflehead. Do you know what it is? No, this is a ringneck duck. So they're also around here. They might not necessarily be on the coast, but if you have like a reservoir near your house or somewhere you could go, they'll be on like large freshwater bodies. So reservoir, lakes. What's this? This is a red-breasted merganser. So mergansers will be around here. Crazy hairdo. This is a male. Females are mostly brown and have like reddish feathers on their head. They don't either. It's even worse. They are mainly fish eaters. They used to be called sawbills, if you have a really old field guide. But they changed the name to merganser. They eat mostly fish. You can see them in Long Island Sound, sometimes in reservoirs and lakes, depending on the species. We have 3 types of mergansers here. This is the red-breasted. There's also the hooded merganser, which is very beautiful. It has black and white feathers on its head. And then the common merganser, which seems to be the least common when I'm looking, but who knows about that. And they have green head and mostly white covering on their body. I heard it before. This is a bufflehead. So cute. This is the male. You'll see them here in the winter, and starting now, they're about this big. They're super cute. Almost like a white flash in the water when you're looking from far away. Any questions? A bufflehead? Mm-hmm. So, back to hungry. Obviously, when you're looking for waterfowl, you need to look along the coast. I suggest you go out. You could go to the beaches if you have a scope and look through scopes, which is like one binocular for long distances. If you have your binoculars, you can look through the different estuaries that we have all along the coast. We're very lucky. We live so close to the water here in Connecticut. Look at different reservoirs for all different type of waterfowl species. And this is just starting, so it gets even better. That's why I love winter. Any questions about waterfowl? I suggest Sherwood Island State Park in Westport. They always have tons of people there that are constantly logging and sighting, so it's pretty happening there. You could probably see a lot of warblers at Sherwood Island as well if you're looking around in the, there's like a little pine forest there too. Look around there. Todd's Point in Greenwich. Look around there. In Stamford, I can't remember the name of the park off the top of my head. Cove. Yep. Is it Cove Island or? Cove Island, Cove Park in Stamford is really good also for waterfowl. There's a painted bunting there last year by accident, which is very pretty perching bird. It's like red and green and blue all together. So definitely start doing this bird watching. Yes?
Is an egret a waterfowl?
Egrets are not considered waterfowl. They're like in their own, herons and egrets and bitterns are in their own thing. Waterfowl is more ducks and geese. And then egrets are like in their own thing. I'm not really sure what group you would have them in. They're not really shorebirds either, so.
Wading birds?
Wading birds, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Now, we have a heron on our property and some egrets, and they don't migrate, even though the snow gets to 2 feet. Now, is it because they just like the property or the food?
They might like the property, and if you have food for them, there's a lot of fish there.
I know they have a nest.
So they probably will just stay. Oh, nice. So they'll probably stay. A lot of times great blue herons stay. Egrets sometimes stay. Snowy egrets I don't think stay. Ospreys don't stay. Getting into birds of prey next. So what is a bird of prey? Awesome. So it is a bird that hunts other birds or animals. It preys on other things. They have to have a certain type of features because technically songbirds prey on other animals when they eat insects. And we don't consider them birds of prey. So birds of prey need to have a couple things. What's one thing a bird of prey needs to have? Good eyesight, talons, and a sharp, sharp beak. So that's what all birds of prey have. There are, I say this wrong every time, 6 groups of birds of prey. Can you name them all? Hawks, eagles, osprey, owls, falcons, and vultures. Good. Got all 6. Yay! Vultures are my personal favorite. I have a picture of a vulture on my desk at school. I have no idea. So best place to see them now especially, I suggest go to Greenwich Audubon. at Greenwich Audubon, they have a hawk watch station. There's other hawk watch stations all over the state, but I'm assuming they're the closest to you. This time of year, when all the hawks are migrating south for the most part, people have set up different stations around popular flyways, and it's when they're it's like really elevated pieces of land, so you're high up and you could see the birds flying over. Usually at these stations, if you go when they're open, they have people there. That's their job to ID birds for you. So I'll probably go tomorrow. And because birds of prey can be very tricky when you're IDing them, especially if they're really far away. So Greenwich Audubon, which is a national Audubon society, not associated with our Audubon Society, which is Connecticut Audubon Society, definitely has them. Last week they reported 2,000 Broadwinged Hawks flying over in a period of like a couple hours, which is just blows my mind. And a bunch of other birds of prey you could see. Also, if there's other birds around, you could always ask people there what they are, and you could do some nice bird watching. The best way to learn how to ID birds is to hang out with somebody that's a good bird watcher. And then they'll keep saying like, oh, that's a blue jay. Oh, that's a blue jay. Oh, do you hear that? It's a blue jay. And it's just more practice for you too. So this little guy, we just got 2 of them at our center in Fairfield, and I would have loved to bring him today, but he does not shut up anytime you have him on glove, and he's really annoying, so maybe next time when he's a little better trained. Does anyone know what this is? This is an American Kestrel. It looks kind of like a falcon because they technically are falcons. Kestrels are the smallest species of falcon that we have in North America. They are about this big. They're very cute. They migrate south for the most part. Some of them will stay around here. I know I've seen them before in the wintertime at Sherwood Island. So if you ever go there, look on the power lines. They like to hang out on the power lines. If you go to Sherwood Island, also you can see merlins, which are not wizards, but a different species of falcon that's in between a peregrine falcon and a kestrel size-wise. So you can see them also. I've seen at Sherwood Island, and peregrine falcons have also been seen at Sherwood Island if you want to go look for peregrine falcons. We don't have any peregrine falcons anymore at the Audubon, but we have 2 kestrels now. And their names are Goose and Maverick from Top Gun. These are our tricky ones. Does anyone know what this is? Not a red-tailed hawk. Close. Not an eagle. This is a Cooper's hawk. Cooper's hawks are, a lot of them have been seen through migration time in Greenwich. I think they reported about 50 or so the past couple days. They're bigger than, they're pretty much identical look-alike, which we'll look at next, the Sharpshinned Hawk. They hunt birds. They are called feeder hawks sometimes. If you have a hawk that likes to hang out on your bird feeder, it's like easy meal. Has anyone seen a Cooper's hawk or a Sharpshinned hawk? No hawks around the bird feeders? Yeah? Yeah? Probably was. They're known for it. And I'm going to try and switch back and forth. I think I have. So this is a Sharpshinned hawk, and this one is an immature. So as an adult, he looks just like the Cooper's hawk, but he's about this big instead of this big. Flying, sharp-shinned, I think must have like a sharp edge to its tail, so its tail is more squared off than the Cooper's hawk, which has like a rounder edge to the tail. If they're not side by side, they're very difficult to identify. I personally don't have that down yet. But if you do go to a hawk watch place, these are constant flyovers, and you can learn the patterns of how much flaps to glides they do and stuff like that, and try and ID them, and somebody will be there to help you, which is nice. Any questions about the Coopers and Sharpshins? They're in the group of hawks called accipiters. They're a different kind of hawk species group than the red tails and the broadwings and the red shoulders. These guys are very good hunters. They hunt birds for the most part, red tails and all that. Those are mostly mammals. These guys are through the forest, red tails, and the other guys are more out in the open fields type stuff, so different group of birds. These are very difficult to keep in captivity. So we don't have any accipiters in captivity, but we have 3 of the other type of hawks, which are buteos. What's this? Not an osprey. Not a red-tailed hawk, close. This, yeah? This is a bald eagle. Good job. I put this up here to show you, if you look in like the Connecticut Bird Book and you look under blackish birds, a bald eagle picture might not necessarily look like this. It takes bald eagles almost 5 years to get that coloration. So you're not necessarily going to see a bald eagle with the beautiful white head, white tail. I put this up here because at the Hawk Watch, you might see some bald eagles fly by. And then you might see one of these eagles fly by, which I've never seen in my life, but I will this year. I'm determined. And this is a golden eagle. And this, because it's an immature golden eagle, it has 2 little white patches. So the good way to determine if it's a golden eagle or a bald eagle immature is the golden eagles have white patches here, and then the bald eagles patches are kind of like all over the place. Any questions about those guys? No? So my last slide for you. This is a very special bird because she is here. This is a Broadwinged Hawk. Yeah? No, not a red tail, but same family as a red tail. So she is in the family of hawks called buteos, and buteos have broad wings. They hunt mostly mammals. They stay on forest edges or fields. Most of the time, they're not interior forest species, but as broadwinged hawks, of course, has to be some outlier. So she actually is an interior forest species. This is not Bella, but this is the same species as Bella. Now I'm going to take out Bella for you. So I just ask if you want to take pictures, that's fine. Please don't use flash. She's usually good. We took her to the carnival last week. It was not good. But she'll be good, I bet. Bird watching and stuff? Yeah, I do sometimes. It depends, like, wherever they make me go. Okay. Hi. Come on. Okay, So I'm going to move out of the light. This is Bella. She's our Broadwinged Hawk. Whoops. She is very, very special because she is acting so good right now, and we're very lucky to have her because she's, for the most part, calm. All of our birds that we have at the Audubon Society cannot be re-released into the wild for one reason or another. 3 of them are imprints, which means that they were raised by people and they imprinted on humans, so they think they're a person. She is not an imprint. So she was a wild hawk that was hit by a car up in Ansonia, and because of her car accident injury, her wing got a little messed up and the bones did not heal properly, and she's missing a couple talons now. So she could not be able to hunt on her own. So we're very lucky to have her.
What do you feed her?
All of our birds eat mice or quail. They're already dead. It'd be torture to give her a live mouse if she couldn't catch it. She eats every day except for Sunday because none of us are working on Sunday, and they do need to fast at some point so they don't get too overweight. She eats way more in captivity than she would in the wild anyways. We got her when she was about 4 years old, which means she migrated to South America, Brazil, 4 times. She's been to Brazil 4 times. I've never been to Brazil. Kind of jealous. Broadwinged Hawks are, yeah?
How do you know how old the bird is?
Just by feather coloration, we could assume that she wasn't like a first year, wasn't second year, depending on the molt. But we're not 100% sure. Yes?
What's her life expectancy in captivity versus at the wild?
In captivity, for most birds of prey, it's about 20 years, and then the wild is half that. This past February, our peregrine falcon passed away at 23. So he is one of the oldest peregrine falcons in captivity, I think. So she is really special. Broadwinged hawks are really, really awesome. They migrate in huge groups, like I was telling you before. So this is the hawk species that they saw in Greenwich, 2,000 of them. And so they migrate in huge groups, and they fly on the thermals, which is when the hot air from the earth rises up and kind of spins around. So when they're using the thermals, so they don't have to use a lot of their energy, it looks like a witch is stirring a cauldron of hawks. So it's called a kettle of hawks when they're flying. She's being extra good today.
When she's not good, what's not good?
She flies around like crazy, tries to spaz all over the place. She did that at the carnival last week. Then she landed, and I realized that one of her jesses broke off when she did that, so we had to put her away right away. So legally, all of our birds have to be attached to us when they're not in their cage. It's the safety, for the most part, for the bird, safety for us, and then safety for all of you. So she has, depending on the bird we have at the center, they have different equipment on. She is a little harder to catch in the cage, so she has a full leather jess. So it's about this big on each leg that hangs down, so you can grab those and then attach a leash to it. Some of our other birds just have little anklets, and they'll step up, and you could put the jess through their anklets. She's not that nice. So she has her jesses, but if it breaks off, then one of her legs is free, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, except for if she steps too far to the right, then she might step on my arm. It's okay.
Does she recognize you?
I think she does, I would assume, but I honestly have no idea. We used to have a crow. The crow would recognize you because they've been proven to recognize faces. So he wouldn't attack me when I walked in the cage, but if my friend walked in the cage, he would attack.
But does he recognize the bird, the picture of the bird?
Probably not. She sometimes will call if broadwings are flying over and they're calling. She might call back, but No, don't hurt her.
I wasn't sure if she would call.
Yeah. I've never heard her call on Glove before. You had a question? No slides on hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are very, very cool, though. They're all migrating south now, except some of them have been known to stick around for a long period of time in the winter if you keep your hummingbird feeder up. Yeah.
Would any of the birds of prey that you talked about come down and attack a household pet in your backyard?
I would like to say no. One, they probably, like bald eagles, are very lazy. They'll usually steal from other birds before they try and catch something themselves, and they'll go after more injured waterfowl and stuff, and fish, so I wouldn't worry about them. Red-tailed hawks, I could assume if they're starving and you have like a really, really, really tiny dog maybe, but I don't think so.
They do go after chickens. Our neighbor tried to raise lots of chickens and he
Oh.
ripped off one by one.
Yeah, and the worst for chickens is weasels. Yeah. My friend had 20 chickens, and every other day she would have like 2 chickens left. But weasels just take the head of the chicken and leave the body. It's really scary, and they're really small, so it's kind of freaky. Yes.
I did have a turkey hawk in my neighborhood that actually did try to go after my 18-pound West Highland White Terrier dog. And I was watching him, I was in and out, and he was making a lot of noise, as was my dog. And so I went out to call her in, because her eyesight's not great. And he flew down, he probably had a 6-foot wingspan.
Oh, wow.
Like it was a 747, and he came down about 6 inches off the ground. The only reason she didn't get, nailed by him because I was probably 15 feet away.
Yeah, wow.
I never would have imagined.
Yeah, me either.
This is a lot of dogs.
Yeah. I can't imagine that. That's crazy. And cats, just keep your cats inside. They don't like birds anyways, so keep our songbirds safe.
It seems like a lot of the geese that we have in Mead Park over in the pond, that they just stay here all winter.
They'll stay all winter for the most part. Geese stay. If you're really lucky, you have to keep an eye on the different geese flocks because there might be like a special goose in there. So there could be barnacle geese or pink-footed geese sometimes, which are really rare from up Greenland, Iceland area that sometimes can come down and be in like a Canada goose flock.
When birds migrate, do they migrate in a huge flock together, or do they go in small groups together?
They usually migrate in mixed flocks. So all different species migrate together. That's what I was going to mention before. If you are in the woods looking for warblers, be on the lookout for chickadees because chickadees are very good birds at warning if a predator is coming. So other bird species will hang out with them on purpose because they know that they're going to warn them if something is up. So mixed flocks is how they migrate. Birds usually always migrate at night. There is this new thing now. I'm not sure the website, but all my bird watching friends post pictures all the time of radar because at first the weather radar people thought that they're like clouds, but they realized that the huge masses of birds actually show up on the radar. So you can see like almost like starbursts of just don't want to look at you all anymore. You can see like it's okay. You could see like starbursts of just like millions of birds that are like coming out or like going into areas. Yes. So nests are only for breeding. only for the babies. So when they're migrating, they just roost in like tree branches or sometimes maybe like underneath roofs. If you have like a little platform or something, they might roost there for the night, but they don't hang out in nests. I guess I'll put her back now. She's a little.
Do you have any trick for keeping woodpeckers from pecking on our gutters?
Oh, I wish. Because I have one that pecks on my window every morning. But I think it is because there's been some research. She's going to abate. It's okay. Good job. So there's been some research that they're young woodpeckers that don't know what bugs sound like yet, so they're pecking on your house because the vibrations from the wires in your house sound like bug vibrations or like what a larva might sound like underneath the wood, which could be it. And then also some woodpeckers just drum, which is like marking their territory. So if they peck on your gutter by accident one day and realize that it's the most beautiful sounding sound they've ever heard, then they'll just peck on that to make the noise. It might be if they're drumming like during breeding season, but if they're doing it now, it's probably just a territory thing. That's like I had a woman call me because there was a cardinal that kept hitting her window over and over, and I was like, are you sure it's hitting the window? Because cardinals are also very aggressive when it comes to territory. So she was saying like they shut the curtains and still was hitting the window, but it was because it was like on purpose flying at the window and then like shooting its legs out after and like smacking the window with its feet because it thought it was another cardinal in the reflection. But there's nothing you can really do about that unless you cover the whole window. And then I read somewhere it said just put like a mirror in your yard so it hits the mirror so you don't have to worry about it, which is a little crazy. Yeah.
Every once in a while I see larger birds, and they're very small birds, like dive bombing and harassing. It amazes me because the smaller birds are 1/5 the size of the larger birds. A large bird might be a raven or a crow.
Oh, yeah.
Very small birds that move a whole lot faster will just attack.
It's crazy.
Do you have any idea what kind of bird that might be?
It's probably just either crows or ravens.
It's the little ones, though. The crows and ravens are the ones that do the
It could just be like little blackbirds or different sparrows or something. I'm not really sure. A lot of times crows go after hawks too. So it could be like a big hawk that's getting attacked by crows.
You were talking about a very little bird that had a very long tail. Is that permanent, or does that tail fall off?
That tail's permanent. I'm almost 100% sure. But they're in South America only. It was a rarity that he was up here.
We saw a flock of birds in Africa, and they looked like crows, and they had tails like that.
Oh, wow.
They were all just, and we were with a bird person, and he said during mating season, they have these long tails, keep them close to where the females are, and once they mate, the tail falls off.
Oh, wow.
It was just quite
I mean, I guess you don't need it anymore then. Well, it's 2 o'clock, so thank you for coming. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Don't step back.
Oh, thanks. If you're interested in coming down to the Fairfield Audubon anytime soon, if you have any children, we have Enchanted Forest, which is night hikes and owls, and that is the weekend before Halloween weekend on a Friday night. I'll be there.